This podcast is brought to you by the Prospect Research Institute, where researchers come to learn, innovate, and connect.
On major gifts, and I consider a major gift to be six figures and up, research is I believe, very necessary. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and as well as the prospect's time.
Welcome to Prospect Research Chat Bites, a podcast by and for prospect research professionals. I'm Jennifer Filla. Today, I'm talking with Jim Rees, Scout Executive and CEO of the Boy Scouts of America, Greater Tampa Bay Area Council. Hello, Jim. Thank you for joining me today on Chat Bites.
Hi, Jen. It's good to be here.
So before we jump into our topic on fundraising without research, I'm wondering if you'd be willing to share a little bit about how you came into fundraising and how you arrived at the Boy Scouts.
Well, I think I came into fundraising through the Boy Scouts. I've worked for the Scouts for 30 years, and part of being a Scout professional is that we have to ask people for support and ask people for help. And as my career advanced, I had to do more of that and at different levels.
Aha. And where did you start out in the Boy Scouts? It wasn't in Florida.
No, I started working for the Scouts in Lafayette, Louisiana. I covered a rural territory, which the office was in Lafayette, Louisiana, but I covered St. Landry and Evangeline parishes in that area. And I started immediately. We had to go out to people for money. One of the campaigns that we do still today is called the Family Friends of Scouting campaign, and we just had to get in front of our families that are involved in scouting and ask them that if they had the ability to help us financially, that they would consider that. And so that was my first fundraising. And when I took the job, I didn't realize that it'd be fundraising, and I was very, very nervous about it when they told me I had to do that.
I bet. So you just jumped right in. That's wild. And how did you get to feel comfortable doing it? How did that work out? Training or what?
Yeah, well, I still have a video of myself. I borrowed a video camera, which were not common back then. I borrowed a video camera from my sister, and I would make presentations in front of the video camera, and my wife and I would then critique it, and she'd give me pointers on how to do it better, or at least how she thought I could do it better. And so I just practiced. And then after the first presentation I made, it was successful, and I realized I didn't really have that much to be concerned with. And so just over time, I got better at it.
Wow, you are a brave man getting in front of a video camera.
The video cameras sometimes are not very forgiving.
And then I know you came to Florida from Houston, and you had success in a big campaign there. Is that right?
I was hired in Houston in 2010 to help research and whether or not a major gift campaign would be supported there. And so I went there with that objective, and we ended up launching a campaign that was incredibly successful.
That's wonderful. And you did that without a researcher on staff. Is that true?
We didn't have a researcher on staff, but the Scouts work through volunteers. We had a lot of volunteers involved in the campaign, and through volunteers I was able to do a lot of research. And then we also hired some outside support to do some research for us. On major gifts, and I consider a major gift to be six figures and up, research is I believe, very necessary. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and as well as the prospect's time. And so it's just, what drives people, what is their ability level, what are their interests, what have they done in the past. All of that research is important. And research, as you know, takes a lot of time. And so if you're not staffed appropriately to be able to do that research internally, it is very important to outsource it. And so that's what we did in Houston. But we also had a lot of input from volunteers, and we have a lot of great volunteers in scouting. And so we got a lot of input from volunteers on the people in the community and what they've seen from them in the past. And so we started there, and then we would just dig deeper.
And what kind of process was that? Like, I think of peer reviews where, you have your volunteers reviewing a list of prospects. What did it look like for you in Houston with your volunteers? What ways did you guys work together?
Well, we put together a group of key leaders of the community, and these people were from different industries and different backgrounds, but all very successful, and they were all going to make or had made a significant contribution to the campaign. We started with 4 key volunteers, and we were going to have a $2 million campaign, and the 4 volunteers we recruited to provide leadership to the campaign contributed collectively. They contributed $10 million. And so these were people of significance and significant wealth. And they were then able to provide us with a list of about 60 to 70 other people that they felt could make contributions ranging anything over $100,000, but many of them were in the 7 figures. And that's where we started. And so when they provided these names to us, we then, through things that are available that we could do internally at no cost, just doing Google searches and looking at what boards they were involved in and other gifts that were published. We did that, as well as we identified a company that did research for us on wealth of the individuals, and essentially everything. You can find out a lot, as you know, about someone because so many things are public information. And so we started there, and then we outsourced some of a little bit deeper research on people that we didn't know well. And then from there, we were able then to use the same company to identify people that they believed would have an interest in our organization and our mission. And so we took then that information and it's just mapping it out. It's once you have all the data of what somebody can give, it's about a relationship. Who is the best person? How do you cultivate them? And then how do you eventually ask them for support? It was a game of strategy.
And it sounds like you had a team to help you with that strategy. Yeah. This is wonderful.
We had great volunteers that worked with us. And then initially, we also hired a fundraising consultant. Their job was not necessarily doing anything but holding us to task. We'd have monthly or bi-monthly meetings, and every meeting we would come up with what was going to be done in the next time frame.
So you managed the campaign in Houston. You used your team of volunteers, you used some internal researching, some external researching, you had a great success, and now you're in Florida. What brought you here?
If you have a career with the Scouts, you have opportunity to move up and to move around, and every position is different. And so this opportunity came available, and I looked at the profile, and I thought that I had the right skills to be able to do the job. And it's a lot more than just fundraising and scouting. Most everything is about relationships, but fundraising is just one thing that we do. Everything scouting does is to try to provide a quality program to youth members in the community. And growing membership or growing the number of families and youth members that are participating in our organization is why we do everything. And I've taken several roles within scouting. I started in Lafayette, Louisiana, the Evangeline Area Council. And then from there, I worked there for 10 years. I went to East Carolina Council in North Carolina for 4 years. And then from there, I went back to Lafayette as the CEO. And then I got to become a consultant in fundraising with our national council. And then from there, I went to Houston for 8 years. And then I've been here for 2. So you move up with scouting and you move around, and it is a great place to live, and there is a lot of opportunity, and I thought that I could add value. So here I am.
Well, I certainly don't blame you for moving to Tampa. I think it's a fantastic city.
Yeah, it's a great place. It's growing. It's beautiful. The people are friendly. It's a great place to be.
It is, and the philanthropy here is really growing. Even in the short time that I've been here, I've seen big changes, especially in the number of zeros after some of those gift amounts. And I'm kind of curious. So now that you're here for a couple of years in Tampa, you have that campaign experience from Houston and other campaigns you've been involved in. If money were no object and you could bring someone on board for your staff to focus on prospect research and prospect management, what would you want to get from them the most? What would be most important to you?
Good question. It depends on, if money was not an object, then I'd probably have somebody doing research, and I'd also have people doing their cultivation. Typically, though, in nonprofits, money is an object, and money is a limitation. And so, in my experience, is that you need somebody that can sort of wear both hats, because the job is very different. Doing research on the community and people of wealth in the community is different than developing relationships with them and managing cultivation plans and even communication. But if money wasn't an object, I would have somebody working for us that would identify individuals that would have an interest in our organization and have the ability to support us in strategic ways. And then I would have another person to then take that information and cultivate the donor to be close enough to us that they would be excited about making that strategic gift.
That's interesting because, yes, the number one thing I hear in the nonprofit fundraising world is that identification, that focus on we need to find the people.
The connecting with the people is what is a challenge. Most wealthy people, they're used to being asked to support things. And if you approach them in the right way, they're probably going to make a gift. But will it be a legacy gift for them? Will it be a life-changing gift for the organization, or an organizational changing gift? Is typically only achieved when they really believe in what you're accomplishing or what you're trying to accomplish, and they believe in the plan, and they're asked by the right people. And so getting someone to that point often takes a lot of time. And you have to have the people that work for you that have either as volunteers or as paid staff that have the time to spend to get them there.
Well, before I let you go, I'm wondering if you have a favorite book or other resource that you feel everyone in fundraising should know about.
My favorite resource is my spouse, and so I don't think everybody should know about her. But I can tell you a resource that for fundraisers that I think is great is the Association of Fundraising Professionals. In Houston, there was a really good organization of AFP there, and I got a lot of value from participating because you're dealing with many people that are doing the same type of work that you're doing, and then some that aren't, some that are doing other things. And then I just learned a lot at every meeting. So as a resource, I think that is good. And rather than technical books on fundraising or anything about management or relationship, I think it's, for me, inspirational books. For example, I know someone that's very successful in fundraising, and they have read the Bible 10 times because they get inspiration from the Bible. I read short stories that just make me think about the impact of the work that I'm doing. And that by being successful in fundraising in the nonprofit sector, and there are a lot of wonderful nonprofits there. I just happen to work for the Boy Scouts, which is one of them. If you can stay connected to your mission and to the importance of the fundraising and how it applies to the success of the organization, that would be my recommendation. The other thing that I will say is I like reading stories about books of people that have failed and then they've gotten success, because in fundraising you have to deal with a lot of failure. But it's okay. It's part of the strategy. You have to approach people honestly and ask them for their support and be grateful to them, even if they're not able to help you or they choose not to. So I don't necessarily have one book that I could recommend. My recommendation would be looking for people that can provide guidance to you and our organizations that can do that, like the AFP, and look for things to read and to participate in that will inspire you to do this job.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your resources, your sharing. I appreciate you taking the time today.
All right. Well, thank you. And if I can help you at all in the future, let me know.
That was Jim Rees, Scout Executive and CEO of the Boy Scouts of America, Greater Tampa Bay Area Council. Jim shared how important it is to connect with others, especially for prospect cultivation. Connecting with people is a key piece in fundraising. If you're interested, even as a prospect researcher, to learn what's important for connections and how to identify those opportunities for your major gift officers, I've included some resources for you in the show notes. Hey, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come check out the Prospect Research Institute's learning community. It's a membership community with powerful resources, great discussions, and comprehensive courses. Check it out at member.prospectresearchinstitute.org. I'd love to have you join me as a member of the learning community. See you there.